This is a place where history was made. Hinchliffe Stadium is a national treasure, one of only a few Negro League ballparks in existence, and the only stadium in the National Park Service, a part of Paterson Great Falls National Historical Park in Paterson, New Jersey. This architectural gem is a tangible connection to important events and pioneers of the past. Hinchliffe Stadium was opened in 1932, at a time when racial segregation and institutionalized discrimination were common. Some of America's finest athletes could not play in the major leagues because of their race, but they played here and at other Negro League stadiums. Paterson native John Ellerby helped to build the stadium. He later played at Hinchliffe with the Paterson Semi-Pro Smart Set, along with teammate Josh Gibson, the legendary Hall of Fame slugger.
Well, he was great. He could throw, he could hit, and I mean, he hit all the time. We had fun. Marty Irvin played shortstop. Larry Doby played first base, and I played third base.
In 1933, the colored championship of the nation was played at Hinchliffe, the Negro League equivalent of the World Series. The New York Black Yankees, New York Cubans, and Newark Eagles hosted home games at Hinchliffe until 1944. More than 20 future Hall of Famers played here for the Negro Leagues, including Paterson's own Larry Doby. Doby grew up playing football and baseball at Hinchliffe Stadium and had a successful tryout for the Newark Eagles there while still in high school. After a blazing career in the Negro Leagues, he broke the color barrier in the American League in July of 1947 when he was signed by the Cleveland Indians. Hinchliffe Stadium was a sports haven for working-class residents struggling through hard times in a city dependent on industry. It was also a draw for a wide range of activities. Hinchliffe was a nationally known hub for motorcycle and midget car racing.
I remember the noise from the midget racers that raced around here. You could hear blocks away.
There were nights in the middle of the summer when they'd have like a midsummer championship that'd be 50 or 100 laps, that they'd sell the stadium out and have standing room only.
They had drivers come from all over the country, from California and all that. Everybody who knew racing back then mentioned Hinchliffe Stadium all the time.
Paterson was such a great city for racing back in the day. You had Gasoline Alley here in Paterson, which was just a wonderful resource. You would be able to go to Gasoline Alley and get a complete car built, whether you were going to run a midget at Hinchliffe Stadium or run the Indianapolis 500. All that was done here in Paterson, and all because of the racing Hinchliffe Stadium. That's what brought them all around.
The stadium was also an important venue for concerts and performances by legends like Duke Ellington and Paterson's own Lou Costello. Renowned Paterson sculptor Gaetano Federici created his bust, as well as the sports reliefs around the stadium. In 1963, the Paterson School District took over ownership of the stadium. Thanksgiving football games were a long-standing community tradition that continued.
I was a cheerleader for the Central Colts. When you're down on that field and you're looking up, when you see that the stands are packed, wall to wall, people standing, yeah, what a feeling.
Some of my fondest memories of Hinchliffe Stadium is when I was in high school. I ran track and field. I did graduate The ceremony was held in this particular stadium. We would line up in the shape of the year that we were graduating.
Sadly, Hinchliffe Stadium fell into disrepair and was closed in 1997. But there is hope for future restoration. In 2014, 500 Paterson residents came together to paint over graffiti and clean up the stadium.
It's the difference between having a sign that says, "Here stands Hinchliffe Stadium" versus "Here stood Hinchliffe Stadium." I think having Hinchliffe Stadium rehabilitated would mean a lot for this community. You know, it's a tangible piece of history to be connected to the Negro League. So imagine if you're a high school baseball player and you played on the same field as Larry Doby, as Josh Gibson, as Cool Papa Bell.
To understand the history of this place, you have to understand the history of the people who played here. And after understanding that history is one of the reasons why I think that the preservation of this stadium is so important.
Before my father and Mr. Robinson played baseball, kids of color couldn't dream about playing in the big leagues. So dreams started here and continue to this day.